Hi, my name is Jeanette Biazon, and today I'm going to talk about another important organizational behavior concept, which is communications. We are going to take a look at two concepts under communications, the directions of communication and cultural barriers. And let's study the effects of these two in the workplace, whether you're working at home or whether you're working in an office. Let's take a look at the first one. So the first concept of communication here is, let's take a look at the directions of communication or the flows of communication. There's three communication flows of communications here: downward, upward, and lateral. As you can see on this diagram here, the downward is from the management giving instructions or directions to the employees. It's a one-way nature, while the upward, the employees are being empowered to give their feedbacks, suggestions, or they are able to make projects or plans and submitting it to the management for approval. That's a kind of an upward flow. And the last direction here is the lateral, where you are communicating with your colleagues. For example, it's here the members in the same levels are communicating with each other in the workplace. You and your co-workers making plans, or the managers, your manager and the manager in the other department are communicating together and making plans. That's a kind of lateral communication. There is a struggle with employees who are working home-based because there is a limit to what they can do in terms of communication, especially when they are doing their work on paper or even on through webcam. It's hard to identify the sincerity, the emotions attached to the other person talking. So you cannot easily identify the issue or the conflict that's going on. Whereas when you're working physically in a workplace, you can see and you can identify and make solutions right away if there are issues that arise in the workplace. And so that's the directions of communication. Another concept that I'd like to talk about is cultural barriers to communication. Since we are in a country where diversity is accepted and multiculturalism is part of the Canadian government policy, we find ourselves working in a workplace where there is a lot or a mix of cultures, different cultures working together. So, and we find ourselves having trouble sometimes understanding and interpreting what they're saying based on their nonverbal communications, their actions, or the way they say, they pronounce or they say a word. Sometimes we find ourselves misinterpreting them. So, if we study these barriers here, it will help us understand and improve the way we communicate with our colleagues who have been here or who just arrived here and not too long ago and are having hard time translating words from their language into our language here. So, semantics. Some words just don't translate. Let's say, for example, some words in Nihongo or the Japanese language don't have a translation in English. Some words in Filipino language cannot be translated in English. So when these cultures are expressing themselves, they find it hard to find in their head the translation in English. So they have the tendency to say the words inappropriately or in a different meaning. The word connotation is also another struggle in terms of communication, because the meanings are misinterpreted. Let's say for the Japanese language, when they say yes, that doesn't mean that they agree to what you're saying. It may mean to them that they are listening. And also in other languages, there are words that we will misinterpret them, because the way they do it in their countries, in their cultures, is different than how we say it here. Another one is the tone differences or intonations. If you have been watching Russell Peters, he's been giving examples of tone differences and intonations. He's a very funny guy. He gave example of this Russian accent which is true, because we are misinterpreting their intonations, the rise and fall of their tone, into a dangerous plotting against a group of people, or very dangerous. Or also, he also gave another example of the Arabic accents, where they're also the stereotyping of their voices, the tones of their voices. Another barrier here that we see in the workplace is the differences in tolerance for conflict and methods for resolving conflict. Some countries, some cultures find that facing conflicts face to face, solving it face to face right on the spot, they find it hard. Like, they don't want confrontations, so they stay away from confrontations. They tend to keep quiet when they're being told of their mistakes, because that's how they do it in their culture. Some cultures too, they want it direct. You say it to them right away. They don't want it being hidden, or they have different methods of facing conflicts. They want it direct. So those are barriers of communications that we find ourselves experiencing in the workplace. Next is the strategies on improving communication in the workplace. Here so based on what we've discussed and on the examples that we've discussed, it's very helpful that we have to watch our languages and the way we say it. So the use of clear language, understanding differences in body language. So it's very important that we don't jump into a conclusion and misinterpret the way they use their gestures. Let's practice reflective listening or paraphrasing. Like if we're having trouble understanding the other when we're on the phone, it's important that we have to paraphrase and repeat what they said over the phone in order for us to better understand what they're saying. So they'll repeat it and rephrase what they said. Be open and inclusive of other cultures. It is also very important that we accept them and not judge them, and avoid stereotyping against these different cultures in the workplace. So again, when we're working in a home-based work, this is also gonna be a struggle, because we don't see who's talking there. We don't know them. We don't get to know them on an intimate level. So that's the struggle with home-based work. But with these strategies, we may be able to improve ourselves, and we will be able to understand what these cultures are trying to say to us. So that's it, and here are the references that I've used that we can take a look at if you are interested in. And there you go, and that's it. Thank you.